So when I released this 82 Hunter Twink video, I posted a comment, would anyone like a guide for 82 Twinking? And it looks like most of you want a guide for 82 Twinking, except for Joe Frost and company. So, sorry Joe Frost, but looks like you're out of luck. So the first question you might have is why level 82 and not level 84? And that's because in 5.2, Blizzard came out with this patch note right here. It says, players in low-level battlegrounds will have their effective level raised to the maximum level allowed in that battleground bracket. Players' base stats and spells are scaled accordingly and are treated as the same level when determining hits, misses, and critical effect chance. So basically what they did was they scaled up lower levels in battlegrounds. So in this particular bracket, level 80s get 88 item levels, 81, 82, 82, 77, 83 gets 14 item levels, and 84 gets no item level bonus. So it's pretty clear that the best level to twink at is 82 because you get the best combination of available gear and item level bonus. But 84 can work. Certain levels have cooldowns that they don't unlock until 83 or 84. And there's some unused trinkets that are really good at level 84. It might depend on what class you're trying to run with. Basically, there's two ways to get gear. All the good gear comes from the auction house. It's Mist of Pandaria bind on equip gear that you can't really farm because it's a really low drop rate in random world mobs. But this website right here, which I'll have the link to, shows every piece of available gear for 80 through 82. And there's another list for 83 and 84. You can look through every piece of gear and you're going to want to find the ones that have the stats for your character, obviously. And then all of the remaining slots that you can't find gear for, you have to get gear from Blackrock Caverns and Throne of the Tides. And you can look on this website, which I'll also have the link, it's just Wowhead. You can look at all the gear or you can use the dungeon journal. But on Wowhead you can actually look at the quest rewards. So there might be some slightly better items that you can find in the quest rewards. And there's also going to be a link for Throne of the Tides. But yeah, you're going to have to find most of the gear in the auction house and maybe haggle people down a couple thousand gold. But the MoP gear is expensive, so be ready to spend a lot of gold if you're going to make a twink. Some of the rare twink gear are really high profit items. Even though they're not high demand, gold farmers will try to buy them if they see them cheap as fast as they possibly can, so I recommend checking the auction house multiple times a day. As far as race goes, I would pretty much choose human for alliance, dwarf if you want to make a shaman, night elf if you want to make a druid, and for horde, I would probably stick with undead, tauren, or troll, because I don't think the orc racial will scale up like your gear does. And then Blood Elf, Goblin, and Pandaren are pretty useless for twinks because you pretty much want big damage, outs, or lots of health. And as for class, the first thing I would look at is what kind of gear is available for what kind of class you want. I know elemental shamans can use mail gear, leather gear, and cloth gear that will all have stats for it. But I made a shaman and most of those pieces have spirit on them, so it's not that amazing. But pretty much every single class will work. Death Knights have really good AoE with Howling Blast. I know Hunters one-shot people. I'll show you some clips from my twinks if you haven't seen them yet. And Warlocks, I think they can hit the hardest if you want big crits. You can get like 250k Chaos Bolts, 300k Shadow Burns. But yeah, pretty much every class is going to be OP. So pick what you like. So I'm just going to show you exactly what gems, gear, reforges, and enchants I have for each one of my twinks. But as far as stat stacking goes, you can pretty much just follow what a level 90 of your class would do. But for my hunter, I know it was different because if you stack crit, aim shot's going to crit no matter what at above 80% health. So if that's going to one-shot people, you might as well stack haste so you can get more of them off. And I had a lot better luck with haste than crit on my marksman hunter. But I don't know, I like to experiment around. I've probably tried out 2 or 3 different combinations for each one, so it's pretty fun to play around with. I ended up stacking haste on my shaman because I found myself getting interrupted so often and you have to cast to get damage off as elemental, so yeah. I don't know if there's a particularly best stat. Kind of depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to go for AoE kills, if you're trying to fight other twinks, I don't know. But you can pretty much decide for yourself what stat you're gonna stack. Just read what mastery does. Sometimes mastery is really good, like it is for destruction warlocks. Sometimes mastery is not very good, like for marksman hunters. But yeah, pretty much just see what your stats do and stack something. Back when they buffed lower levels in Battleground, they also made enchants and professions scale with your level. So they made them a lot less powerful, but they're still worth getting. So now, instead of being able to have a higher enchant on a lower item level, they just made it so that you get stats based on your level, which made them a lot worse. It also kind of messed them up a little bit, because higher level enchants have less stats than the lower level ones that are for your current level. So if you type in Enchant Bracer, you can see that the level 90 Mist of Pandaria enchant for an off stat, let's say Mastery, gives you 42 Mastery. And then you scroll down a little bit and get to the Cataclysm enchants, which is for my current level. An off stat will be 50. So it's actually better to have the Cataclysm enchants than the Mist of Pandaria enchants, which is really weird. But the only way that I know to have the best combination of price and stats is to just search enchant and then the name of the piece, and then scroll through them down to level 80 and see what you can find. The enchants aren't really a huge deal, but they give you a little bit of boost to your stats. And I don't even have professions on my guys anymore. I don't think it's worth it. It's so much money for like such a small amount of stat increase, and I'm not even going to play these characters at level 90. But if you really want the best twink possible, go ahead and get professions. How to not gain experience. Everyone always asks, why is your experience on when you're a twink? And the answer is, if you turn your experience off, you are put into a separate battleground queue with only people who have their experience turned off. So pretty much the queue will never pop because there's not that many twinks queuing at one time. So you have to keep your experience on if you want to queue for battlegrounds. It kind of sucks, but I mean, how long do you really want to play your twink anyways? It's not that fun. But if you want to play forever, you can always do Warsong Gulch and leave before your team caps. You get 0 experience for that. Isle of Conquest has very little experience until you get the kill. It has next to nothing. Arathi Basin has high experience. Eye of the Storm has medium experience. Alterac Valley has the most experience. And Strand of the Ancients is up there with Arathi Basin. So if you want to not get experience, I would queue up for mostly Isle of Conquest and Warsong Gulch. And luckily, those are pretty much the 2 most fun battlegrounds to play as a twink, because I find myself able to get the most kills in Warsong Gulch and the best AoE in Isle of Conquest. Especially when they're trying to kill your leader. As you can see, it's pretty easy to wipe them in a few seconds if you pop all your cooldowns. And now, thanks to the new Deserter change, you can only get a 5-minute debuff the first time you leave, and a 10-minute debuff the second time you leave, so you can do a few games in a row without having to wait too long. The last thing I want to talk about is playstyle. I can't tell you how to play every single class as an 82 twink, and I don't think anyone really can, but it's definitely different than playing at 90. For example, I wouldn't put Curse of the Elements up on like anyone on my Warlock twink unless I was going for a huge crit for a montage or something, because it's going to one-shot him no matter what. There's no point in putting Immolate, Curse of the Elements before you one-shot him because he gets one-shot. So basically just try to be creative and play your twink like a twink, not like a 90. Same goes for talents and glyphs. There's a lot of talents and especially glyphs that you can use at level 82 twinks that you wouldn't really use at level 90. You just gotta look through all of them and read them and see what exactly you want for your character, what stats you're stacking, and what you think would be the most helpful to survive and get kills. And you may find yourself dying a lot more than you expect, but it does take some skill. It doesn't take very much skill, but to play a twink well, it does take some skill, so don't get frustrated if you die a lot when you first start playing as a twink.